Welcome into Between the Tackles. I'm Michaela Vernava alongside Doug Hyde and Zach Cox. Guys, this is our last podcast of the off season, which is good and bad. It's good because we obviously have a hard time finding things to debate during the off season, but this week we do have a real great debate, but we're going to save that topic for the end of the show. In other news, you guys look nice today.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. Well, we're going on vacation.
I know.
So, yep.
And you're not. So
Yeah.
that's why you're off out.
Yeah, that's it's kind of thanks for rubbing it in.
Exactly.
Nice little positive of covering the Patriots for a living. There's quite a few positives of covering football for a living, but we basically get like summer vacation where the two of us are off for the next 5 weeks, 5.5 weeks. Once we wrap up this week, we're done until training camp. So it's nice. It takes me back to my youth.
Big long stretch of vacation, and when you guys first came in, I said I was really wounded because I thought you decided to do a themed podcast without me.
And we did.
Well, we pretty much
You
did.
did,
Literally
but
what's happening right now.
But it makes sense because I'm not going
not.
on vacation. I'm not. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be working.
Thoughts and prayers.
It's like we're going on like a school vacation and you have to stay for summer classes or something. Summer
It's the
school.
worst.
Yeah.
Summer school, Michaela.
Yeah.
That's just mean, yeah. But it's
I-
like, but I
and
didn't do
having to be
anything
alive in
wrong. I
college.
didn't fail.
Yeah.
You know, that was my biggest fear in school. Is summer school. That would be scary. Can we tell them what you're doing with your hair? Or is that?
Yeah,
Can
sure.
we tell them?
Yeah.
All right.
My hair. Yeah.
Doug is going blonde during
Going
his
blonde during
vacation.
summer, yeah.
Full like
So we talking
Bieber
full
blonde.
blonde or like Odell
Bleach
Beckham
blonde.
Oh no, just all blonde.
Not
It's all
just the
blonde.
tips.
Not just
full,
the tips. Full
so like
blonde.
Bieber, like the Katy Perry,
Yeah.
like the whole like bleach blonde.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this.
I haven't bought the bleach yet, but that's the next step. I know who's going to do it. So
Who?
yeah, my friend. He used to be a hairdresser. Now
Hope
he's
you
not.
trust him.
So I trust him.
I just hope that when we
Maybe I'll let my
rejoin,
mom do it. I used to bleach my hair in high school and like dye my hair and stuff. And my mom always used to do it, so maybe I'll go back.
if I were to
Old
do
school,
something
have
like
Donna
that,
Kai do it.
Yeah, definitely have.
Yeah.
Only trust my mom with something like that. But I'm just hoping that when we return in August, it'll be it'll be July for
July.
training
Late
camp.
July, yeah.
That you still have some frosted tips. That'd be great.
Sure, I will
think
for
you should keep
our
going.
return show. Yeah,
Okay.
I promise.
All right, so everyone make sure to be checking in on Doug Hyde's Instagram while he's away because his hair will be great. Anyway, moving on from your vacation that I don't have once again, let's talk about OTAs, minicamp, do a little summary. I was very upset. I was sick and was not able to make it for the last few practices, so I'm going to need you guys to fill me in. Let's start with standouts on the positive side.
Yeah, there was quite a few. We've talked about this kind of ad nauseum, but I think it's good to just do it one more time as a full recap. But I thought that Brandon Cooks was a standout. Thought that Stephon Gilmore was a standout. A lot of the usual names, but some of the guys who are a little bit more under the radar, who stood out to me at least. Undrafted linebacker Harvey Longy, I thought had a good spring. He was supposed to. He signed for over $100,000 signing bonus, so Patriots definitely had high hopes for him. He had an interception, had a pass breakup, looks good in coverage already, was really the biggest standout coverage linebacker out there. Another kind of under-the-radar guy, I would say, is Devin Lucien, who was a 7th-round pick last year out of Arizona State. And I thought that he had some good moments out there, made some diving catches. It's a really crowded wide receiver room, so I don't know if that's going to translate to him making the roster, making the practice squad. He probably need an injury to get onto the roster, but he looks a lot better than he did a year ago, which is kind of what you want to see out of those guys right now. Who kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, a couple other under the radar names that I saw: Jonathan Jones and Kenny Moore, the two cornerbacks. Jonathan Jones was an undrafted rookie last year. Kenny Moore is an undrafted rookie this year. I liked what I saw from both of them. Also, at cornerback Eric Rowe, who's kind of he's in a little bit of a weird spot right now because he's not a starter now that they have Malcolm Butler and Stephon Gilmore, but he's probably the third best corner on this team. We'll see where he actually fits in. They were trying him out in the outside, in the slot, and a bunch of different places. He had a good week. He was the only guy to intercept Tom Brady. And then, overall, I thought almost all the wide receivers played pretty well, especially I singled out the starting three, the Brandon Cooks, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan. I couldn't really knock anything from any of them all week. They all looked fantastic. And then if you're going deeper in there, I liked what I saw from Lucien. Austin Carr also had some moments. He worked a lot with Jacoby Brissett. He's another undrafted guy. So there's definitely a lot of positives to take out of this camp as we go toward training camp.
Well, looking at the negative side, I first want to ask about guys that maybe surprised you that you thought would be better, like any of the big names that maybe didn't look as sharp, anything like that?
Yeah, Dwayne Allen. I think that everyone kind of thought that he would come in and be Martellus Bennett Part 2, and he was really having trouble catching passes, which is kind of an issue for a tight end who's supposed to catch passes. He probably will be used more as a blocker in New England's offense just because they have so many wide receivers, so many running backs who can catch the ball. So I'm not ready to drop him off the roster or anything at this point. But it was definitely concerning because you see it practice after practice after practice, and you're always kind of like, all right, well, maybe next practice he'll catch back on, he'll look a little bit better. There's also miscommunication with Tom Brady. So I think that he'll just have to use this next 5 weeks to kind of recharge, come in fresh again for training camp, and hope that he can find his hands. Maybe he can go back to Indianapolis, see if he left them there or something. Maybe he left them in Clemson, or he was working out this offseason. I don't know. The search for Dwayne Allen's hands will be over the next 5 weeks. Maybe we can get like Carmen Sandiego on the case.
You can do
something.
like
Carmen
Lost Dog
Sandiego
posters.
Yeah, there we go. That was fantastic.
I didn't hear you at first. That was horribly good.
Yeah, it was horribly good.
Anyway, how about you, Zach?
Anyway, I think Dwayne Allen I think was probably the biggest loser, I guess if you could say, from this camp. Obviously, way too early to make any real conclusions on anybody on this team. As Bill Belichick said, nobody's going to make the team or not make the team in this 2 or 3 week span that we got to see. Other than that, though, Jimmy Garoppolo did not look nearly as sharp, as precise as he did in this same setting last year. He didn't look bad, as it's kind of a hard line to toe when in these camps, because he didn't come out there and look awful, but he just didn't look as good as he did last year. He didn't look as good as I expected him to look, as everybody's kind of talking about him as a player who could start for pretty much but most NFL teams right now. Didn't look that great. Missed the last day of OTAs. Missed the end of the last minicamp session with what appears to be kind of a minor leg injury. I saw somebody said a calf injury. He was at practice, but he didn't participate. He didn't take part in any drills. So not the greatest showing from Garoppolo, but again, nothing. No real conclusions that I can draw from that.
And no word on how that injury occurred?
No, we weren't able to see anything. No, it was the last minicamp session. He was a full participant for the first 3 quarters. Then when they went into the last 11-on-11 session, he only took 4 snaps. Then he basically just ceded the rest of it to Jacoby Brissett. Not sure if that was injury related or just game plan, practice plan related. But it was definitely interesting to see.
How about Brissett? How did he look?
He looked good to me throughout the spring. I thought they looked better than they did last year. Seems like he's got the offense a little bit more under control now, and that's what you kind of want to see from him. And I did a 53-man roster projection for this morning, and I threw in there that, there was a question as to whether he was going to make the team this year. Maybe it wasn't a huge question. Maybe there wasn't a lot of debate over it. But back in 2008, the Patriots drafted Kevin O'Connell in the 3rd round of the draft, and he was cut the next summer. And that's a quarterback who was drafted basically in the exact same place that Jacoby Brissett was, and he was cut the next September. So it was on the table that Brissett might not have made this 53-man roster. I think he's well on pace to make the roster at this point. I thought he looked really good. 2 other guys that I thought struggled this spring, cornerback Cyrus Jones. He still can't really
Cyrus Jones
catch balls that are flying through the air at him. And it was punt returns, and he also dropped a kick return, which it's not as big of a deal as a punt return because there's not going to be players flying in your face quite as fast on a kick return, but you're not going to get good field position if you drop a kick return. The other guy, and we can discuss Cyrus Jones a little bit more after this, but Josh Augusto, defensive tackle, he weighed about 390 pounds at Missouri. He's trying to drop it down to 335. That's what he's listed at. I think as of about a month ago, he was at like 349, somewhere in there. The guy can't complete 2 laps around the field when the defense has to take disciplinary laps, and that's a serious conditioning concern for a football player who, defensive tackles on the Patriots can play 40, 50 snaps a game. If the guy can't run 2 laps around one field, which is basically only doing about a 200-yard run, then how many snaps is this guy really going to play in a full contact game? Like 15, 10,
Yeah,
something like
especially
that.
the setting of these two laps. This happened twice. First on the last day of minicamp, where it was warm, it was hot, but it was only about
like
high
75,
70s,
yeah.
75. He couldn't complete the 2 laps that day, and then it was very, very hot on the last OTA day. But the defense had to run a lap about 5 minutes into practice. It was really before drills had even started, because there was some substitution miscommunication or something like that, it appeared. And yeah, he completed those 2 laps, but he was about a solid 30, 40 yards behind all of his teammates.
And he had to walk to finish.
And he had to walk to finish. It's just, he's not a guy that I thought was going to make the team anyway. They're pretty deep on the defensive line, but yeah, it's just not a good look for a professional athlete. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of baffling. And as you mentioned, that position can be out taking 40, 50 snaps, and it is maybe deceiving that they're not the ones out running routes, but the amount of strength and cardio that it does take to play that position.
It can be more tiring. It can be more tiring smashing your body into a 350-pound guy every game than sprinting down the field.
I remember reading something about how in shape Vince Wilfork was. That people look at him like, oh, it's this huge guy, but that he used to swim and all this other stuff. That he's just in tremendous shape cardio-wise, and so that's.
I will say about Augusto that maybe over the next 5-6 weeks, because they really won't practice again for 6 weeks. Maybe his weight can settle a little bit. Maybe he was just trying to drop that weight a little bit too fast. Took it, stopped eating. I don't know what he's trying to do to get down to 335, but maybe he was just really trying to impress his new team by dropping weight right away. Maybe over those next 5 to 6 weeks, he can get the weight settled. He can get his conditioning back. But I mean, this is something you never see. Professional athletes, no matter what size you are, should be able to complete 2 slow laps around the field. It's not like they're asking these guys to sprint. There were guys like Elan Roberts who was, I wouldn't say loafing, but he was completing the jog pretty slow, and he's still almost lapping Josh Augusto by the time this thing's over.
When you say couldn't complete, did he really not
He walked to finish. On minicamp, the Ray Ventrone had to come over and walk with him the final 30, 40 yards, something like that. And on Tuesday, he was walking by the end. He was his jog slowed to a walk, and then he had to walk back. And I mean, when this is a disciplinary lap, that's a bad look for the rest of the team to still be huddled around, waiting on you to walk to finish this lap. And he did finally jog to get back over there, I think, because everyone was kind of tired of waiting on him. Yeah. But I mean, as an undrafted rookie, it's about as bad of a look as you can get.
Yeah, as an undrafted player, you almost have to be close to perfect in these kind of settings if you want a chance to make this team. And yeah, it's safe to say he has not been that so far.
Getting back to Cyrus Jones, I feel like he's a guy that also needs to be close to perfect. You say that, Bill Belichick has said no one makes it or breaks it in these early OTA minicamp stages, but given his track record, is that the case for him? I feel like those drops could, unless he comes in and has a perfect training camp.
Yeah, it's tough, especially with him, because basically what Nick Caserio said, I think, after that draft is that part of the reason why they drafted him over some other players who were rated around the same is because of his special teams ability, because of his return skills. They didn't draft him purely as a cornerback. They really almost need him to succeed as a return man to make him worth a second-round pick, because he really hasn't stood out much as a cornerback either. He had some decent moments last season, but as far as this camp goes, he didn't make any plays, didn't do anything out of the ordinary as a positive. So I think he does definitely need to improve those special team skills during training camp. On my 53-man roster projection this time around, I had him making it, and that's really only because Justin Coleman didn't stand out, and the 3 undrafted guys all had their moments, Kenny Moore, Dwayne Thomas, and DJ Killings, but none of them did so much that I'm willing to bump off the second-round pick right away. But, I mean, that's only because none of those guys were out there making interception after interception after interception. And that could happen in training camp. Kenny Moore, they're already putting him with the veterans. If he's out there making plays like Malcolm Butler did a few years ago, then I don't know. I would certainly consider not having Cyrus Jones make this roster.
Yeah, because Cyrus Jones, he either has to contribute on defense or he has to contribute on special teams. If they don't trust him to return kicks and he's lower on the depth chart than, say, Jonathan Jones or Justin Coleman or one of these rookies come up, that it seems like he is below some of them right now, there's no point having him on this team. I know he was a second-round pick just a year ago, but if you're going to use up a roster spot for a guy who can't really help you on special teams or on defense, other than maybe when they put out their dime or quarter package out there. It's not worth it, I don't think.
Yeah. Because a fifth cornerback isn't even going to be on the active roster a lot, and maybe that's what they wind up doing with him. That's what they did with him almost all of last season after he had all the return errors. And this is a team that has a decent amount of return errors
especially
anyway.
when you can use that spot on a guy like DJ Foster or somebody that maybe can impact the game in different ways. Then it's a decision they're going to have to make.
Yeah.
So obviously he shouldn't be wearing his Hawaiian shirt and sitting on the beach during this time. We know Augusto will be hitting the gym. Allen will be looking for his hands. Yes. Other than that, what will these other...
I suspect Cyrus Jones will be taking shirtless pictures on Instagram a lot this summer.
Oh.
Based on
what he
usually does on Instagram.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll be helpful.
That'll be the cure.
Nice.
Yeah, I know you're an aficionado of basic Instagrams. You should check out Cyrus Jones.
I'm an aficionado.
Cyrus is the most basic Instagram, I'd say.
I think that did I notice that?
Maybe.
I know we never got a chance to bring the Instagram segment. That we will. Yeah. We will. We're gonna do a most basic
long season.
NFL players on Instagram. We're going to get there. The off season ended up. Yeah, we just didn't. It didn't happen, but it will happen.
It will.
And it sounds like Cyrus Jones will be featured.
He'll be on the list.
But really, what will these guys be doing? The guys that need to prove themselves or maybe are on the bubble, how can they use this time?
Yeah, a lot of these guys go to different camps and different training facilities over the summer, and that's definitely what a lot of these guys should be doing. They go to Arizona, or this is usually the time when Tom Brady will meet up with Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola in Montana and do some summer workouts. These guys aren't just lounging around like we are, wearing Hawaiian shirts and sitting on the beach. They're definitely taking this opportunity to continue to get better, and I think that's basically what Bill Belichick instructs them to do. He can't force them to do any of this stuff, and if you want to make the Patriots, then you've got to be working even during your time off.
Yeah, what was Belichick's message to the team?
It was pretty clear. It was we spoke to him a couple days after the Patriots ring ceremony last Friday, which we talked about on the Football Word. We spoke to him at his first availability after that. Just say, Bill, how was the ring ceremony? Like, it was a special night. He's like, yeah, it was special, but like honestly, we've got to move on. Like this, he said, this 2017 team has not proven anything to anyone. Has not won a single game. Has literally accomplished nothing yet. And that's the mindset that I think has allowed this franchise to be so successful for so long now. That they know that just because you did something last year doesn't mean you're automatically going to come out and do it this year, especially since this year's team is pretty different from last year's, even though a lot of I'd say most of the kind of key contributors are back. With the influx of new people now, it's such a new group, such a new core that Bill Belichick knows, and I think the Patriots players know that they're basically back to square one now. They're still a very talented team, but if they kind of rest on their laurels and think that they can just cruise into the season, they're going to be mistaken.
There's so much talk about the moves that they made this offseason and how much more they improved, how I don't know exactly the jargon of ESPN rated them. Is it
They said they had the best offseason by a defending Super Bowl champion in the salary cap era.
So honestly, a lot of people are ready to crown them. That, of course, would not bode well.
Yeah, Bill Belichick usually does a pretty good job of dragging them down. But I mean, it's tough to do in this situation because, they've lost one starter from last year? Logan Ryan's really the only starter that they lost on offense or defense, right?
Yeah.
And then they added so many pieces that they just got, this team is just absolutely loaded. It's crazy. It really is. I guess LeGarrette Blount.
LeGarrette Blount, Martellus Bennett was a starter for a lot of the season.
Yeah.
But everybody that they lost, they replaced. Yeah. So it's hard looking out. I mean, it's going to be, I think, a difficult task for Bill Belichick and his staff to convince the Patriots that they're not as good as they are. I think the veterans, I think the Tom Brady's, Devin McCourty's, Dante Hightowers, they're not going to have an issue kind of setting their mind into this season, forgetting about the last season. But some of the younger guys, I mean, say a guy like Landon Roberts or Malcolm Mitchell, the only experience they have in the NFL level is being on this juggernaut team. And now they just saw that juggernaut team get even better. How are they going to get their minds in the right spot to say, hey, we haven't actually, that last year's team won this many games, won the Super Bowl, but we have not done that yet. So it's going to be an adjustment for especially some of these younger guys that aren't used to it, that haven't really experienced failure at the NFL level.
I feel like
I did
Brady
talk to Landon Roberts in minicamp, and he's trying to get better. And he's taking it day by day.
I've heard that.
He's the only one that
I know.
Probably,
it was a very
that's
very
original.
Unique message. I know,
That's original.
I was like,
wow.
I almost like wrote that piece, that article, like right on the practice field.
Yeah, wow.
Didn't want anyone else to get that first.
Caps breaking.
Yeah.
Hashtag
pretty exciting
breaking
stuff.
news exclusive. I feel like Brady will play a big role, though, in keeping the younger guys going and realizing how. I just feel like with his experience and the mindset you see from him, he will certainly play a big role in that. I mean, just look at the Super Bowl that they lost after going an undefeated season. If you sit back at all, like by all accounts, they could have, and a lot of people think should have won that Super Bowl. So even though it looks like they should win the Super Bowl this year, still got to work at it.
Long ways to go.
So as far as the Patriots' most important players, there's a lot of really great guys on this roster. So how do you kind of rank importance here?
Yeah, Zach wrote the 10. He ranked the 10 most
I took a look
players
at these
in the
guys this
Patriots.
morning. As we were talking about in the offseason, sometimes we run out of things to talk about.
Yeah.
So this seemed like a good time to just kind of, it's a question that
Take a
people
step
ask. This is
back.
going to be a barroom, backyard barbecue discussion over the summer. So I think it's pretty obvious that Tom Brady's at the top of the list.
Sorry to interrupt, but how are you rating this? Are you know how you'll have the discussion of who's the one guy that can't get hurt, that if they get hurt, that's going to sink the ship?
It's a lot of that. Initially I was going to go strictly that, and I was going to have Dante Hightower as my number one, and then because I think
that would be stirring the pot.
I know, I was going to stir the pot. I said in my post I wanted to be contrarian, but I decided not to. Because in the end, Tom Brady is the most important player on this team, even though he does have Jimmy Garoppolo right behind him, who we all think is going to be a solid to above average NFL quarterback. And then Dante Hightower behind him, he's got Shea McCollum, Kyle Van Noy, Landon Roberts, who are good players, but not. I think you take out Dante Hightower, that leaves the biggest hole on this team. So that's why I had him at number 2. He was my number 2 guy. And then going down the list,
I know that there's a lot of discussion about the whole Jimmy Garoppolo situation. If Tom Brady, something were to happen, as good as this roster is, does anyone think that the Patriots are winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm?
I think they can.
I think they could.
I don't think they would be overwhelming Super Bowl favorites like they are right now, but I don't think a Tom Brady injury would automatically destroy their Super Bowl chances.
But like I said, there's so many people ready to crown them right now. I feel like that feeling would decrease.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they wouldn't
Not that they wouldn't have a shot anymore, but if that were to happen
I don't
today,
even know if they would be the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
No, I
don't think they
Steelers
would.
and
I
the
think
Raiders
the
are probably-
Steelers,
I was
the
gonna ask, what
Raiders, maybe
teams
the
do you think
Packers, maybe
could
the
beat
Falcons
them?
up there.
Yeah.
I think that whole kind of second tier would just rise up. But I think the Patriots would still be a part of that upper echelon tier. I mean, I would still expect them, even if they don't have Tom Brady, I would still expect them to get to the AFC Championship game at worst. That's how talented this team is right now.
This is a little off topic. It's actually very off topic. But you mentioned the Falcons, and everyone's coming out with their top 100 NFL players, top 50, whatever it is. Everyone is overrating Matt Ryan so much off one season where he was an elite quarterback. I mean, going into last season, no one would have even you would have scoffed a little bit at the question is Matt Ryan elite? And now people have him in the top 10, top 15. He doesn't have Kyle Shanahan around anymore. Who knows if he's even going to play an elite quarterback this year? It's just so crazy that 10 years into a guy's NFL career, he has one fantastic season. Now everyone's saying he's better than Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. I just don't see that based off one season.
Did you say top 100? So quarterbacks of all time?
No,
or
top
are you
100
saying just
players.
Like
And they're
current,
playing-
yeah,
players?
like the
I
NFL top
thought you were
100
saying
thing, yeah.
in the
quarterbacks
current
of all
top 10.
time.
No. That would be even crazier. But I don't know. I mean, way off topic, but
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
Ryan took a dramatic step back this year.
I can see the Falcons taking a nosedive this season. I still think they're really good because they have most of their team from last year back, but I don't know. I can easily see them either being in the NFC Championship game or going 7-9 and miss the
Right.
playoffs. I mean, that tends to happen. That's happened with a lot of Super Bowl losers, like your beloved Carolina Panthers, just straight down.
And
We'll
you
see if they
never
bounce
know
back
what's going to
up.
happen in the NFC South.
Yeah, and the Panthers could be hot again.
Never
The
know.
Bucks could be
The
good
Bucks are.
this year.
I'm buying high.
Saints could be good this year.
I'm buying
that's gonna
Jameis
be
stock
a
this year.
very competitive division.
I think the Bucks Patriots Thursday night game. I think it's week 4 or 5. That's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah.
I think the Bucks are really a team on the rise this year. So
So going through your list.
that was talking NFC
Yeah,
South.
that was talking NFC South.
Circle back to the list.
I agreed.
So
with,
we're going Brady, Hightower.
Yeah, I'll
Those
just
are
go
my top
through.
two,
Yeah,
yeah.
Zach had Brady, Hightower, Gronk, McCourty, Edelman,
Gronk.
Flowers, Cannon, Solder, Branch, and Gilmore.
Do you agree with Gronk at number 3?
That's
don't.
a good question. I like your list. I would probably.
I like your list too.
Hey, thanks, guys.
I'm just stirring the pot, but I also do kind of really disagree.
No,
I
it's
would-
it's
I-
tough. It's tough because
Yeah.
I think like the top 2 were pretty clear to me, but anywhere between 3 and about 7 or 3 and 6, I think they're almost interchangeable depending on how much you value each position. But what's your take? What do you feel?
I would probably put Edelman above Gronk, even though the Patriots have much better depth at wide receiver. We've just kind of seen how this offense has struggled without Edelman, and they did obviously win a Super Bowl without Gronk. But at the same time, obviously, I can see your argument that the depth behind Gronk, you've got Dwayne Allen who can't catch a football, and then you've got James O'Shaughnessy. So it would be an issue to lose Gronk. And behind Edelman, you've got Chris Hogan, you've got Brandon Cooks, you've got Malcolm Mitchell, Danny Amendola. The one guy that I would have put in here, I think, is Patrick Chung, just because he didn't have the greatest season last year, so I can see why you would leave him off. At the same time, if Patrick Chung gets hurt, then that really just completely reshuffles your secondary. You probably then have to move Devin McCourty to strong safety. You have to have Deron Harmon playing free safety. And then in nickel, when you want Deron Harmon on the field, then you probably either have to put Jordan Richards on the field, or you have to have a cornerback playing a safety role. Patrick Chung also plays some linebacker, and you don't have a coverage linebacker on this team who can cover anything like Patrick Chung. So I think that if he went down,
So
it would
it's the
just
ripple effect.
It would kind of destroy. It wouldn't destroy the defense, but Bill Belichick really did talk about how important all the safeties, Deron Harmon, Patrick Chung, and Devin McCourty were last season. So I might even put Chung above Gilmore, just because the Patriots do have better depth at cornerback. If Gilmore were to get hurt, then at least you still have Eric Rowe to step in there. If Patrick Chung gets hurt, you just don't want Jordan Richards to play meaningful snaps.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I can definitely see that argument. I don't disagree with that at all. For Gilmore, it was more of Gilmore was kind of different than the rest of these players on this list for me. More in that it's important for him to be good. Because if he's not good, if he signed this big deal and then he ends up being a bust, then they are already risking losing Malcolm Butler next year. If Malcolm Butler leaves in free agency and Stephon Gilmore is not what the Patriots are hoping he's going to be, then that really kills their secondary. Then they really kind of have to start over and just really reshuffle their whole thing at cornerback. So that's more of a future projection type thing. But yeah, it just shows how deep this team is that there's so many players that you can consider putting on this list or reshuffling them however
I definitely
you want.
agree with the importance of Nate Solder.
Yep.
Why did you have him?
I flip-flopped Solder and Cannon. I was trying to decide between the two of them, then I just ended up putting them both. I put Cannon slightly higher just because he just signed a big contract. He's going to be with them for longer unless they re-sign Nate Solder. Solder hasn't re-signed a deal. I feel like people think, including myself, that Solder's older than he actually is. He's only 29. I feel like he's been around forever.
Yeah.
I always have it in my mind that he's 33, 34. He's actually younger than
looks
Marcus
older.
Cannon by like 2 weeks. So
very mature.
yeah, they're almost exactly the same age. They came in at the same time. So yeah, I think they're really kind of A and B, but I just put Cannon slightly higher just because of the contract.
Yeah, and I mean, losing a franchise left tackle has a huge ripple effect.
Yeah.
We saw it in 2015 when he got hurt and they didn't win a Super Bowl. So that's one of the reasons why they didn't, I think.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest reasons for their success was this past season was their stability on the offensive line, especially at those two tackle spots. Because you saw all three of the guys in the middle, the interior linemen, each kind of struggle at different points in the season, but Cannon and Solder were pretty much rocks the entire time.
Yeah, I know everyone's always kind of, when you start analyzing offensive line, but I have always been big on what's going on in the trenches, and because you see how much that affects everything else.
I liked Flowers being at number 6 too. When I first started looking at this list, I was like, wow, I might put Flowers higher, but I don't think you can really make the case for him over those guys in the top 5. But I mean, there's just so little behind him at defensive end, where if he got hurt, then you're talking about Rob Ninkovich, Coney Ely, who's currently not practicing, Geno Grissom, and a couple of rookies. I mean, he's going to be, if they're able to pile up sacks this season, it's going to be because of Trey Flowers. And if he went down for any reason, that would be a huge blow to that pass rush.
All right, well, are we ready to move on from this and get to the great debate?
Sure.
Are we ready, you guys? Are you ready? Okay. So brought to us by some Pittsburgh news outlet. We have new tablets.
Post-Gazette?
I believe it's
okay.
Post-Gazette.
I can't double check. I want to
Axelrod?
double check right now, but we have new tablets, and I'm on the verge of a Bill Belichick moment of tossing it on the bench because I don't really know how to use it. So, anyway, it was Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
I believe so.
Brought us, presented the question: is Sidney Crosby better than Tom Brady? I want some kind of music to come in right now, like I don't know what kind of music, but something really dramatic. I mean,
as a hockey player, yeah,
it's
way
like
better.
I would hope so.
I would assume I can't.
On ice?
I can't picture Brady being all that like graceful on skates.
Can you-
So I think I can give him the edge there.
I know. Think about that.
But I mean,
I would love to have. I mean,
when-
just watch Tom Brady play a little hockey after he retires.
In Bambi, does Bambi like run across the ice at some point?
Yeah.
And he like his legs like
That's what
go
I
like
would
this.
picture,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think. Well, so yeah, I mean, let's break this down. As a hockey player, I'm taking Sidney Crosby. As a football player, I'm taking Tom Brady. As a baseball player, I'm taking Tom Brady. He was drafted by the Montreal Expos. You know, people forget that. Basketball,
I'd go Crosby because Tom Brady, I don't think he has the oomph to stand his ground, to box out, to post up. I know he has the height
I am
advantage,
picturing him
but-
being a little Bambi-ish on the basketball court too, kind of just running down the floor, a little,
and not really
like legs and
knowing
arms
what-
going all over the place.
how big is Crosby?
He's not that. I think he's like my
Andre,
size.
how
I
tall
don't
is
think.
he?
Yeah, we got to get our producer
Yeah.
Andre in here. He's a big,
Is he
big.
6 feet? I think.
Let
He's
me
gotta
look
be
it
like
up.
Yeah.
Sidney
If
Crosby,
I could use
5'11",
this tablet, I'd look it up,
200
but I can't.
pounds.
5'11",
Let's
200.
see
I don't know. Brady's definitely got the better size there at 6'4", 225-ish.
Maybe they should just wrestle.
That's the debate, though. I mean, Sidney Crosby versus Brady as a basketball player, because I'm taking Brady on the soccer field. I think just because like he's got Giselle as his wife, like the whole Brazilian connection. I think his sons play soccer, so he's probably been out
learning
on
through
the pitch.
osmosis.
So
Yeah.
they
I
call
can
it the
see
pitch.
Brady being good at hacky sack. Is that what it's called?
I can't see it.
Or,
I don't think he's coordinated
I don't
enough for
think
hacky
he's a
sack.
Cornhole. I'm taking Brady.
Yeah,
I'll take Brady.
Any arm-based sports, I'm taking Brady.
Tennis.
I don't really know the
I'd go
athleticism
Crosby.
of a hockey player
It's
either.
insanely. That's why
Well,
I would
you
take.
say that, but then there was the guy
No,
who
it's
couldn't
like
complete a
a-
bench press rep and couldn't do a pull-up.
Yeah, but that was unheard of. The
No,
it happens every year.
But the athleticism of hockey players.
The athleticism of
the
Sidney Crosby,
thing that-
like the best hockey player of the
Right.
last 20 years, or at least one of them, is very, very high.
Wasn't there? How did they measure? There was some study that was done of hockey players in there. Here you go.
Hockey players are very athletic.
I will say, so his actual debate was who is the best current North American professional athlete, and he broke it down to Sidney Crosby, Tom Brady, and LeBron James. He ultimately decided that Brady is the best of the three. I would agree with that. I don't think it's really even a debate or a conversation at this point. Obviously, Crosby's won the 3 Stanley Cups, but he's had some major injury issues. He hasn't been around as long as Brady. And I might take LeBron over Crosby. I don't know.
I think I
just
would
think-
too. I think
LeBron's been in the finals 8 times.
LeBron's been. I kind of want to pivot for a sec to the interview, the kind of barbershop feature that came out, I think, last week. It was LeBron James, Draymond Green, and some of their crew, just all talking in a barbershop. I believe they filmed it over All-Star Weekend, NBA All-Star Weekend, but it just was released last week. And it was like half hour long. They talked about a whole bunch of stuff. But a big portion of the conversation was about Tom Brady and the Patriots. And LeBron's take was the question was that is Tom Brady the best athlete of all time? And LeBron said he's the best quarterback of all time, but he won't call him the best athlete of all time just because he only affects one facet of the game. And he gave the whole, like, he only plays offense, he doesn't play defense. Like, us basketball players, we play both sides. Like, hockey players play both sides. And by the end of it, he kind of pivoted, him and Draymond both kind of gave they fell on the side of Team Belichick in the debate over who's more responsible for the Patriots' prolonged success, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick. They basically said they believe that Bill Belichick could have done this without Tom Brady, or Bill Belichick deserves more credit for it than Tom Brady, which has been a debate that's been going on for a while, and that will go on for a while.
Definitely is.
Especially if neither of them end up splitting off from each other at the end of their career. I don't want to say I hope that will happen, but I'd be very interested to see.
It's like we need an answer.
Yeah, no, it would just be cool to see, I don't know, 42-year-old Tom Brady try to lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl and then end up meeting up against 70-year-old Bill Belichick.
I wouldn't like that.
And 28
That'd be weird.
Yeah, it would. I mean, the reporter in me thinks that would be awesome.
It's a good story.
It would be strange, though.
I don't know.
It would feel like we were in an alternate universe.
But what do you think will happen? Do you think that they're both going to just retire at the same time? Do you think? This is an entirely different I know. I
debate.
branched off hard.
Haven't we had this debate before?
Probably, but it was.
You seem uncomfortable. We need an answer.
I am.
You don't want to talk
it's
about
an
this, and
uncomfortable
we're really
thought.
putting you on the spot.
Well, because I have said before, I err on the side of. But by err on this, I know this is a sitting on the fence answer, but I'm very much Team Belichick, I guess, in the equation. I think that he could do a lot. I think he could be, I can't say as successful without Brady, but I think he could be still very, 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 very successful without Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think that put Brady on with a different coach and he's not nearly as successful for his entire career.
Yes.
In the same way, put Belichick with a different QB, but I think if you put Belichick with a somewhat comparable QB, I think he can be just as successful.
I think I would err on the side of Brady, which I'm not just trying to disagree. I just.
That's all right. Stir the pot. Stir it up.
I don't want to get too far into this.
Yeah.
I just think that, like, with his work ethic and everything that he's done, his ability to come back in the fourth quarter and always driving down the field, I just think that there's obviously something special with both of them. And I know that you can't really point to this. It's not entirely fair, but there was life without Tom Brady for Bill Belichick, and he wasn't successful in Cleveland. So, I mean, it wasn't an ideal situation. They were moving. There was all sorts of other things in play. But he found his most success with Tom Brady at quarterback, and even in 2000 with Drew Bledsoe, they went 5-11 that season. So,
True.
I mean, I don't know. That's only because you can actually point to something.
Yeah.
You can't point to something and say that Tom Brady wouldn't be successful without Bill Belichick. At the same time,
I
they did go 11-5 with Matt Castle at quarterback.
I'm just saying, I think that we will get to see either Belichick coach without Brady or Brady play without Belichick at some point before.
Yeah.
I don't think both of them are going to retire at the exact same time.
I think Brady will go first.
I think Brady will go first too. But I would be very surprised if both of them end. I mean, maybe if they win another Super Bowl or two, they'll both just be like, hey, I'm done.
That's how I think
they
should go out.
It probably should. I'm sure most Patriots fans agree. But I feel like we'll end up seeing that at some point.
Back to the original debate, though.
I had nothing to add to the Sidney Crosby debate, so that's why I branched it
I
out.
just think it is really interesting when people try to draw parallels like this. I saw before Game 5 of the NBA Finals a headline that I thought was the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. It was that the Golden State Warriors have broken the record for most consecutive playoff wins by any major professional sports team in listed football, basketball, or baseball. The first lesson I learned on Earth when I came out of the womb pretty much was that you can't compare apples and oranges. Like, you just can't do it. And that's exactly what this is. That headline just blew me away because when you're playing sports with best of 7 series, that gives you a lot more games.
I don't think it was
football. Is just one game. You can't compare those.
I think it was just a statement of a fact. It seemed like it was one of those like.
But isn't that stupid?
It's kind of dumb, but I mean, it's still what was the? How many did they win? Like 16 in a row, 15 in a row, something like that. It's not as impressive to win 15 NBA playoff games in a row as it would be to win 15, because that's like 5 straight Super Bowls. So yeah, it's not as impressive.
So
it's
stupid.
Still it's a cool.
Why are we having this conversation?
I would look at that stat and be like,
stupid.
oh, that's interesting.
No, why would you say that's interesting? I'd say this is
not
dumb.
drawing
I just
conclusions
wasted
from it, but I'm taking
3 seconds to read that headline and decide I'm definitely not clicking on the article.
Well,
no time for that.
3 minutes talking about
No, because
I can't compare apples and oranges. I prefer apples. I'm on Team Apples.
They're completely different.
I'm a clementine
They're
guy.
completely different things. But I just think, yeah, well, that's
Great
my
point,
take on who's better,
I
Sidney
agree.
Crosby versus Tom Brady.
That was a wild conversation we had there.
You can't compare apples and oranges.
Agreed.
Well,
with that, I have no further comments on this subject.
Yeah, let's not get talking for 5 weeks.
I'm gonna miss you guys.
I know.
Yeah. Be posting some.
You can do this by
selfies
yourself
on the
every
beach.
Thursday.
No.
Just like
No, I won't do that. Though.
do some creative
I have
editing
other
where
things to
you like dress up as us and like argue with us and call us stupid and stuff. So
Maybe I will.
Time off.
Yeah, maybe I
Cool.
will.
That's great.
I didn't say you were stupid.
No,
I didn't say Zach was stupid. I said it's a stupid headline. It's a stupid fact.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready to wrap this up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Vacation.
It's a good way to go out.
Yeah, that was a great way to go out.
I feel like we got
One
momentum
thing.
going into this summer.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Enjoy your summers, and we'll be back mid-July.
Late July.
Late July.